Hello everyone. Hope everyone's doing good, and I haven't been on here for a long time because I was traveling and I had my family visiting as well. So the reason I'm coming on here today is that I started doing IQH sessions in Russian, and I had like really powerful sessions this week with a couple of clients, and I wanted to share some of them because I'm going to post probably both of them. I already posted partially the first one. It's going to be in 3 parts, and it's in Russian, but I feel like the information that came through the session would be interesting to other people as well. And obviously if you don't speak Russian, you wouldn't be able to understand. I know there's a feature, I think, on YouTube to like translate into other languages, but I don't really know how that works. I just know that some people have used it. So I decided to share what came through in the session and just do like a brief summary of the parallel life that this person was experiencing, because again, I just think some of it is kind of mind-blowing. And I know I myself was very interested in hearing about it, and I was excited to learn about it. So this was a session where this woman went into so she was existing in another, like, I guess, dimension on like a different planet, and like the Earth's life here is one of her parallel lives basically. So in the beginning, she like the first scene that she saw was this kind of like big metal structure that looked like a space station or a spaceship, that was standing on like those very long legs, very hard, very far away from the ground. And it was like this big metal structure that had no windows, no doors, but it had like openings and stuff. There's nothing around it, like she could see the sky and stuff and the stars, and there's like nothing else around basically. All she could see is this yellow, kind of yellowish bright light around the structure. The structure had sacred geometry shapes to it, and they were like different patterns and stuff. It had levels, like she called them levels, like not they were not like floors or stories, they were levels. That's how she described it. It had no entrance either, and again, it was very far away from the ground. So when you looked at it, it kind of seemed like there is no way to enter it, but she said that there is an entrance there that people could enter through that. So when I asked her how how like people or beings were entering it, she said through teleportation. And she said all they had to do is just think about that they needed to enter, or just have, so it was basically through the thought process, like you would think where you wanted to go, or that you wanted to enter the structure, and then you would be teleported up into the structure. So when we teleported inside the space station, she was in this big bright room, and there are many beings there in wearing spacesuits, and they all looked human. So she was actually in a male body. She was about 40 years old, and dark skin, and like dark short hair and stuff. When I asked her if she was wearing anything, like on her arm, like on her wrists or on her, neck. She said she had a necklace or like a medallion. And that necklace was used for teleportation. So all of the humans that were inside that spacecraft, they all had that necklace. And she said when she looked inside the necklace, it had some kind of like mass or like energy inside, and it was constantly moving and constantly changing. She said that I'm just reading my notes. They connected, to consciousness, and that's how they used that, for space travel. So it was only, this necklace was only given to those who were doing the task, of teleportation. Like, so if they were like astral traveling and, visiting other planets and stuff, those would be the ones wearing that necklace, because that's what assisted them with teleportation. Like traveling through dimensions. That's the word that she used. She said it's, a soul's calling for each person to like know what they're going to be doing. So like they would determine what your soul's calling is, and then your abilities and like what you would be doing, it would be in alignment with your soul's purpose. And that mission, soul's mission, was decided in the early age, and not even decided, it was basically more they were tuning and finding, why that person was there, and then, they would be researching, what the child's or the soul's mission is at an early age, and then the child would go through the training and to be aligned with that mission. So her like specific role in this life, they would do research, to find out if there's life on planets, and they would research if the planet has consciousness. They had no names for the planets, they just gave them the numbers. And her responsibility on this spaceship was to determine the consciousness levels, and and she would determine it using her intuition. She said it's almost like she had that meter inside of her, and then that's how she would use, it's like an internal compass, I guess, and that's how she would determine if, the planet had consciousness or not. She said the planet she was on at that moment, it was not, like it didn't have high consciousness, it was very low consciousness, and that it would take a while before life could be started on this planet, basically. So they looked for planets that were ready to be populated, and in order for that to happen, that planet had to have a certain level of consciousness, and so it can support life. And she said the planet had to hold a hologram, and that hologram will be projecting a reality. So it has to have a certain level of consciousness, so it would be open to love, and so it wouldn't kill, the living creatures if something goes wrong. So really interesting, stuff about those things. The planet also had to be open to connect with other, life and other beings and creatures and all like the living organisms that were brought onto the planet. And it had to accept all those things as part of the planet. So first they would research the planet and its life to see what living organisms could adapt well there, and then they would select the living organisms to be brought to that planet. They were chosen based on the vibration, so whatever was brought to the planet, from like microorganisms to like everything else, it had to have a vibrational match, to the level of consciousness of that planet. She said the elders came first to build the hologram, which would, project the whole reality on the planet. And then they would charge it with the source energy. And then she said the first 2 generations, they are monitoring things on the planet, and they have a choice to leave if anything goes wrong. And And then after that, they basically allow everything to unfold in its own, terms and on its own. And again, they bring different forms of, life forms to the planet based on their consciousness. She said, then, in the next scene, we were talking about, like her body and, who they are and stuff like that. So she said that her and the rest of the team are taking human form because that's their favorite form, but they can take any form basically. They can change their form, they can change, their physical appearance, they can like change their skin color, eye color, and everything else. And the form, physical form, is also selected based on the task given or where they're like located to. They can visit other planets and they can physically adapt to the looks as well as vibrationally. So nobody will be able to tell them apart from, the beings that are populating, a certain planet. They also can take human form as well. And then in the next scene, we went to her like home planet just to see what it's like at her home planet. And she said it's not actually a planet, it's a constellation, and that constellation is located much closer to source than the Earth. She said they don't need to eat or rest because they're constantly connected to source, so they're getting all their energy from the source. And she said that they are source. She also said that they don't have like like houses or anything like that. They can basically construct anything if they want, like they can create any reality. So let's say if they need a meeting space or if they need like some house, they can just create it, and but it's not like a reality that exists the way we think of it on Earth. She also said that they populated over 1,000 planets already, and one of them was Earth. So we kind of went through the process of how it happened when Earth was populated. So she said in the beginning the Earth was very cold, so they couldn't bring any life on the Earth, so they were waiting until the planet would warm up. And it took some time to do that, and they visited Earth many times. They monitored the planet and the conditions, and it took a long time to develop the consciousness before they could bring any life form to the Earth. She said that they had to help with the warming process of the planet, where they brought the energy and they enclosed the Earth with that energy. And they created the environment for small living organisms. And after that, the water appeared on the Earth. And then they had like volunteers coming in from various planets and constellations, and they were the first occupants on the Earth. She said they were still coming to the Earth, and they're still like checking in and monitoring, the process here. They don't have any family structure. They are eternal beings, and they have unconditional love for all. So they have like no mentality of like family or kids or getting married or anything like that. They have no births, they have no deaths, and they're part of source. They have no age as well. So they're just light filled with codes, but they can take any forms as needed. We also talked about the process that they are going through when they're younger, or what we would they don't have like like child or whatever, or teenager mentality, but or terminology, but what they have is like levels. When they're like in the beginning levels, they would figure out what their soul's purpose is, and then they would move on. So at a young age, they're given a mentor who is working with them to determine what the configuration is and their abilities. And then everyone has different abilities. That's what she said. So they have the levels, which is beginning, intermediate, and advanced. And she was at the beginning stage of the process when we went into this experience. And that was like kind of like a sorting level where they would sort out what each person is supposed to be doing based on their soul's mission. She said one of her abilities was adaptivity, flexibility, metamorphosis, which is change in forms, no conflict. She can connect to any form and adapt the characteristics of that form. She can also connect various energies. She can harmonize the energies that are opposite of each other. She can also analyze energy and construct. She said it's what we would call abstract thinking in the Earth's terms, and it helps with creating that hologram that's needed for the life to exist on the planets. She said they don't really have any interest in other people's or other beings' abilities, and everyone concentrates on their own abilities. She said they don't pay attention to others. It's just everything is concentrated on them. Hold on, I have like a low battery mode here. So they're being sorted based on their interests and work, and dependent on the abilities. That's how they would sort them through the school process. And so that's like at the beginning level, and then into like intermediate and advanced, that's when they would start practicing and they would like deepen their abilities. That's when they would build, they would work on teleportation. She said they build realities and like they test them, and then like if they're having issues with something, they would like their mentors or teachers would help them out there. Her mission on Earth, she said, was to harmonize the space here. And then one of the other scenes that I want to mention is we moved, through like different scenes, and like that scene, she found herself in this like big, bright space, and she had no bodies there, and she was like moving with everything was spinning and moving in this space all the time, and she was moving with it. And she was like part of everything, and she said she felt really great. And and again, it was like very, very bright light, and everything is moving and spinning. So I think that's all I have in terms of my notes in regards to like that part of the session. I will be sharing another, like she had a really nice message for the collective that was at the end of the session as well. So I don't know if I'll make a video out of it, or maybe I'll just post it as, like as a text, because I think that would be easier for me to translate it from Russian and then just post it. And then I'll probably be doing a summary of the second session that I had, which is we went into like this tribal life but prior to that, like it was kind of school that she was, like a soul family, and they were like in the school there. But then prior to that, she went through the training in Egypt, and actual information that came through that session is the same information I received in another session. And then she moved to the like times with Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and she was like one of his close people. So she was describing, how they came to visit them, what he was teaching, and how like he looked, like how much light he radiated and what his teachings were. And the same was like Mary Magdalene as well, because she was always there with him. So I'll be sharing that one as well once I, because I have to do a lot of work with them. I have to translate it. I have to, so yeah, hopefully I can get to that next week. So yeah, so that's kind of all I wanted to share with that. And yeah, if you have any comments about it, like if you've heard that information before, because I know a friend of mine actually told me that she read about this similar thing in one of the other books about how the process of bringing life to the planet. So that's kind of fascinating when that stuff comes through and you can verify that information against something else, like some other source. I love when that happens. So yeah, that's kind of all I had for today, and hopefully you are going to enjoy it. And if you speak Russian, then you can find that session on my YouTube channel, which is in Russian. It's already posted there, and because it has a little more details and a couple of more scenes that I didn't bring up here. So yeah, thank you for listening, and much love to all of you, and I'll see you pretty soon. Bye.